If you're white and you oppose massive non-European immigration into European countries, then you will inevitably hear an anti-white shout, "Go back to Europe." The person that shouts this is completely ignorant to not only American history, but current European politics. They couldn't even tell you the difference between Sweden and Switzerland, or Austria and Australia. They don't know what the European Commission is, or what the EU does, let alone how many languages and countries exist in Europe. And they certainly couldn't tell you the difference in appearance between a Northern European versus a Southern European. But we're racist if you mistake an Ethiopian for a Somali. The people that shout "Go back to Europe," they don't care that every tribe of people on Earth has fought for territory and every nation was founded in blood, sweat, and tears. They don't really care to know who was in America before so-called Native Americans, or that Indians genocided other tribes, or the fact that Indians have a widespread European admixture. They don't care that many skulls from the earliest American Indians, such as the 9,500-year-old Kennewick man, have a head shape that is more similar to that of Eastern Europeans than East Asians. All they care about is making whites a minority, so their group can jockey for power and take over what white people built, because their people failed to do the same. It's based on envy and hatred. We Europeans built big ships, traveled across the ocean using the stars to guide us, and we came, we saw, we claimed it, and we built it from nothing. There was no infrastructure to steal. Europeans created a nation others wish their people could have made. Now millions of non-whites want to come live here and enjoy the stolen land and what evil colonialism built. Funny, huh? So it was wrong for whites to settle the land. But now when they come to live on this supposed Indian stolen land, it's morally justified? So then tell the Chinese in America to go back to China, the Africans to go back to Africa, and the mestizos to go back to Mexico if it's land stolen from native Indians. You didn't spring from the grass of America, and neither did the Indians. So tell North African Arabs to go back to the Arabian Peninsula, or Turks to get out of Asia Minor, or Mexican Spaniards to go back to Spain. But who's the one group that conquered North America and owned it in every way possible? Europeans. Our ancestors toiled the fields, mines, harvested resources, invented technology, worked the factories, and built the infrastructure. They did it. Land doesn't build itself. There is no magical dirt. Europeans were toiling the fields long before the first African slave landed on their shores. There was no USA before Europeans, let alone the concept of legally protected land. There wasn't even a light bulb before us. Anti-whites don't know or care about truth and facts. All they want is to steal what Europeans built. They're petty tyrants who want what they could not build themselves, and they use Marxist lies to try and guilt white people into giving away their stuff. We're not apologizing for being better at exploration and conquest. We're not apologizing for our ancestors who were stronger and smarter. We're not giving away our countries because your feelings are hurt. The only reason why so many non-whites are able to immigrate to this country and any white country today is through the generosity of Europeans. America remained 90% white until the Immigration Act of 1965 opened the gates. Previous laws restricted immigration from Asia and Africa and gave preference to Northern and Western Europeans. In other words, to the stock that built the country. Well, if white Americans ever chose to go back to Europe, then they should take everything they built with them, or burn it all down to the ground and destroy it completely before leaving, and then take payment for what's left over. So when they shout, "Go back to Europe," they understand it's the European homeland. So then Europe should be white, right? They understand it is our homeland. But they're completely unaware of politics beyond immediate stuff. They don't care to know that Europe is being invaded by millions of non-Europeans. But if they are confronted on that fact, they say, "Good, whites deserve it because of colonialism and shit," while they enjoy the fruits of colonialism. It doesn't matter that Sweden and most other European countries didn't colonize or invade non-whites. Anti-whites see all white people as the same. They don't know about the history of Estonia or Croatia or any European country. Well, here's the thing. Millions of white Americans would love to return to Europe because Europe is an amazing place, the ancient land of our ancestors. But most of Europe won't take them in. Why? Because they're white. These days, only so-called refugees and third world migrants get in. I know white Americans in Europe who were deported even though they were employed and paid taxes. A Muslim terrorist has a better chance of getting citizenship in Europe than a white American. There are two immigration terms, one called jus sanguinis, which is right of blood, and the other jus soli, right of soil. Right of blood means if you can prove ancestry in that country, you can come back. Right of soil means if you have a child on that soil, you're in, no matter your ancestry. Countries like Hungary, Russia, Ireland, and Italy allow you a right of return if you can prove ancestry through blood. Many European countries used to allow right of blood for the white diaspora to come home. But nowadays, it sounds kind of like the Nazis, so we shouldn't have that. The countries that are currently taking in millions of non-Europeans like England, Germany, and France do not allow the right of return through blood. No citizenship through ancestry for the white diaspora, with one exception in Germany. If you're Jewish and the Nazis kicked you out, welcome. Also in Spain, only if you're Jewish, since they were actually expelled for helping Muslims invade Spain and it took 800 years to get them out, but welcome. The countries that are currently taking in millions of non-Europeans, like England, Germany, and France, do not allow the right of return through blood. No citizenship through ancestry. The largest ethnic groups that helped build America were German, English, Irish, and not in any order, Dutch, French, Spanish, Scandinavian, Italian, Polish, and others. No, 400,000 Africans who came late in the game did not build America from picking cotton. Surprisingly, the largest ethnic group in America is still German. Germans are hardworking, inventive people. We hear Germany saying how German birth rates are low, so we must import Africans and Arabs who will be good taxpayers. Beyond the fact that populations ebb and flow, and Germans would be better off without millions of welfare-seeking foreigners, if Germany really cared about their people, they'd extend an invitation to German Americans. They'd say, "Come home, we need you, we want you back." But they don't. They do not offer the right of return. It's easier for an Algerian to walk right into the country, claim refugee, and be welcomed by the government with a check. Yes, it is easier for a non-European to get into Europe than a white American. I live in Sweden part-time, and there's no such thing as right of blood. Even though there are millions of Scandinavians in America that would love to come home, they can't. A Nigerian can come to Sweden, have a child, and become Swedish, but Sven Eriksson in Minnesota? Not a chance. Not unless he can find and marry a woman in Sweden and go through a complicated and invasive immigration process. Yet Sweden too pushes the lie that they need non-European immigrants to pay taxes to support pensions. Then welcome back home the Svens of the world, Sweden. France started the idea of the right of return by blood, but today it's easier for an African to have a baby in France and become French than my good friend in America with French ancestry who speaks French. Honestly, the way things are heading in America, I would love for white Americans to return to their nation, their people in Europe, and leave the melting pot behind. I'd love for them to come and fight for Europe. A part of me would also love for whites to all leave America just to watch it crumble into chaos without all those evil white people. I'd love to see white Americans embrace their ethnic roots and reignite their connection to the ancient land of their ancestors. Your ancestors were European before American. These people that you see here are being marketed as the new Europeans. Here's the new German, here's the new Swede, and it's all a lie said by those who want to replace us. They will never be us. It doesn't matter if you're a European mix. Embrace the majority of what you are or what you connect with. Within the word white is an extraordinary amount of diversity. Europe is already multicultural, rich with history and culture, made up of various European ethnicities with thousands of years of tradition to draw upon. We have our own myths, traditions, and celebrations. Our ancestors built the most beautiful places in the world. So when someone shouts, "Go back to Europe," I say yes. Take a pilgrimage to Europe and walk the land of your ancient ancestors. Resurrect them within you. We come from explorers, conquerors, pioneers, inventors, and the most lethal warriors of all time. Somewhere along the way, Americans have forgotten this. Our culture isn't strip malls, toxic food chains, and American Idol. Our culture isn't a melting pot of rootless people who buy cheap Chinese goods. We are Nordics, Slavs, Celts, Romans, Germanics, and Europe is ours. But so is America, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. But if white people don't begin asserting themselves and fight to protect and claim what is theirs, there won't be any place for white people to call their home. Red Ice is independent, listener-supported alt-right media. We are ad and sponsor-free, and we do not monetize our content. The majority of what we do is free, but it's through Red Ice memberships that we're able to take care of our crew. We're expanding and bringing on more people to produce additional TV segments, but we need your help to fight against the anti-white machine that works against us 24/7. The government literally funds leftist groups that work against people like you and I. There are millions of dollars working against us. We're up against massive opposition. So help us fight back. For the price of a latte a month, you can become a member. You'll have access to the second hour of Red Ice Radio, but also Weekend Warrior, our live commentary TV show every Saturday, where you can also connect with fellow members during the show. It's all at redicemembers.com. We have different options available. We love you all. Thanks for the support. We're in this for the long haul. See you next time.